हेलो एवरीवन, अस्सलाम वालेकुम। आप देख रहे हैं लिटरली। मेरा नाम है लियासन। उम्मीद करता हूँ आप ठीक ठाक होंगे, खैरियत से होंगे, अपने चाहने वालों का खूब ख्याल रख रहे होंगे। रिसेंटली मैंने एक वीडियो पे रिएक्ट किया था जिसमें कुछ गोल्ड मेडलिस्ट दिखाए गए थे जो कि कॉमनवेल्थ गेम्स में मेडल्स जीते थे। तो उनमें कुछ की जो शक्लें थी वो थोड़ी हटके थी। ऐसे इंडियंस थे वो जिनको जिनको मैंने पहले नहीं देखा था, और मैंने उन्हें कहा कि ये चाइनीज़ लगते हैं, ये इंडियंस नहीं लगते। तो मेरा कहने का मकसद जस्ट ये था कि वो दिखते चाइनीज़ की तरह हैं। ऑब्वियसली वो इंडियंस ही थे, वो इंडियन बैच लगा के इंडिया के लिए मेडल्स ले रहे थे, इंडियन फ्लैग था उनके पास। तो बट मुझे काफ़ी डांट पड़ी थी कमेंट्स में इस चीज़ के ऊपर, और उन्होंने मुझे सजेस्ट किया कि आप इस वीडियो पे रिएक्ट करें। नॉर्थ इंडियंस को, नॉर्थ ईस्ट इंडिया के जो रहने वाले हैं, आप उनको कोई और कंट्री वाला मत बुलाएं। सो FTD फैक्ट्स इनका एक वीडियो है 10-11 मिनट का, ये देख लेते हैं। कुछ मुझे आइडिया होगा इंडिया की नॉर्थ की पॉपुलेशन के बारे में। लेट्स सी।
India is a land of diversity and with many different kinds of people belonging to different races, cultures, and religions. So it's but natural that people belonging to such diverse cultures would also look a little different. However, people from the northeastern part of India have a different look altogether. Now the question is, why is that? And what are some of the facts surrounding Northeast India? Hey guys, my name is Leroy Kenton and welcome back to another episode. Now we've talked about this before, but now we're just adding it to our 10 Facts episode series. And before I begin, leave a like on this video if you love learning. And for those of you who are new here to FTD Facts, hit that subscribe button and ring that bell so you don't miss any of our future episodes. Alright, so let's jump into the facts now. Northeastern India comprises of 8 states. There's Assam, Arunachal Pradesh, Mizoram, Manipur, Meghalaya, Nagaland, Tripura, and Sikkim. Now, northeastern India shares its borders with Myanmar, Bhutan, and China, as well as Nepal and Tibet. Now, all these countries comprise of people of almost the same ethnic group, but even within Northeast India, the population of Northeast Indians is made up of many different races, mainly the Mongoloids, Indo-Aryans, and Australoids, or Austric and Dravidians. Now, I know that in today's modern world, the term Mongoloid is seen as something derogatory, and many use it as an insult for people with certain forms of handicap. However, for this episode, if I use the term Mongoloid, I do not mean anything offensive at all. It's just for the sake of clarity, and I'm referring to the original use of the term. More specifically, as the term relates to people of East Asia and Southeast Asia. There's archaeological data that confirms that the Mongoloid race used to live in parts of South Asia during the Paleolithic Age. In fact, some anthropologists see modern Chinese people as secondary descendants of Mongoloids. And since people in Northeast India are also descendants of the Mongoloid people, you can see why all of these races share similar physical features. Another point to look at is while the original settlers in Northeast India were the Mongoloids, the Indo-Aryan and other groups arrived later. You can see that there's a huge dominance of the Mongoloid element in the population of Northeast India. Also, in some ancient texts, the northeastern regions belonged to tribes who spoke languages from the Tibeto-Burman family. Then in other parts of the northeast, there was a race of people who reached Myanmar from the Yunnan region of China. Also, the Métis tribe of Manipur state descended from the Tartars who migrated from China in the 13th to 14th centuries. So in short, there are more than 200 fascinating tribes in northeast India alone who at some point in history migrated from neighboring countries. The neighboring countries, specifically China, Myanmar, and Bhutan, and they all came in search of more fertile land, or to find river valleys, or to simply just invade the land. Now I got a very interesting point here. Other than the racial differences, which I will get into very shortly, there is a whole tribal, non-tribal duality recognized by the Constitution of India that gives certain benefits to the many tribal communities in the northeastern part of India. Now, this was to help them catch up with the rest of society in educational standards, as well as standards of living in general. Now, it's because of reasons like these that Northeasterners are often non-recognized and even misrecognized, or even thought of by the wider Indian society as foreigners, and they're seen as people who came from such places like China, Nepal, Thailand, or even Japan, and some call this withholding the Indianness from the Northeastern Indian people, which causes people to discriminate against and marginalize them. Now let's talk a little bit about the issues that Northeastern Indians face a little bit more. So pretty much the people of the northeastern part of India are often even seen differently by the people from other parts of India, like I mentioned. Now, while it's true that Northeastern Indians have Mongoloid features that give them unique features on a whole, many people have assumptions about them. And the biggest problem that the people of other parts of the country have is that there's just very limited knowledge about the Northeast. In fact, most of the decision makers sitting in Delhi, they will often forget this very part of the country. Also, if you think that when Indians from other states travel to different states that they're treated differently over there, so it makes sense that Northeasterners would be treated differently when they travel outside of their states, well, think again. Now, there are a few complications that I'm going to talk about right now, which should give you a better picture of the problems here. It's pretty much human nature. It's like burnt in, hardwired in our DNA to look at people who don't actually look like us or talk like us in a different way. So think about it though. How do you develop understanding? Well, that's through communication. Now, how do you develop communication? Well, that's by speaking the same or similar language. And you can say that the general perception among a large portion of North Indians is that the Northeastern Indians are really unapproachable. Now, people from Maharashtra, Gujarat, as well as Bihar, India, can kind of get by because their languages are similar enough to Hindi to reduce the language barrier. A lot of Indian people and Northeastern people face problems because of this, because their languages just aren't that similar. There is also a geographical barrier. Many people point out that Northeast India used to actually be separated from the rest of India, and they started being connected to the Indian mainland not too long ago. Also, transport to and from the northeastern part of India is still not very developed. There are only a few trains and even fewer flights. As shown in the image that you'll see on your screen right now, there is a physical divide between the rest of India and northeastern states. Also remember that North India used to be pretty fragmented earlier on, but it got connected more easily because they were on the plains and enjoyed some cultural intermixing. And then when a ruler would occupy the region, they would then bring about their laws as well as their culture. And this created a cultural similarity in the region. Now, due to North India's geographical position, a kind of barrier was created when the cultural assimilation couldn't take place between the northeastern states and the rest of India. There's also a big issue when it comes to stereotyping. Now, did you know that when the Arabs began trading in India, that they started calling anyone who lived on the east side of the river Indus as Hindu? So back then, the river Indus used to be called the river Sindhu, but because the Arabs couldn't pronounce the S sound, they started pronouncing it with an H. Hence, we eventually got the name Hindustan. And like most Mongoloid featured people, there's that term Mongoloid again, they're referred to as Asians, and yes, while they are all Asians, everyone isn't Chinese. But because it's easier to the human mind to classify them all together, people think that they're all the same people. So in the same way, a lot of Indian people stereotype Northeast Indians too. For fact number 2, I want to share some information about the underrepresentation in society and media. So the northeastern states aren't very densely populated in the first place. A fraction of them come to North India for education or looking for jobs. Compared to the massive crowds of people of North Indians, Northeast Indians are statistically a minority. Mainland Indian society just hasn't seen enough of Northeastern Indians even after they started migrating to North India. We see Black, Asian, and Latin representation in African sitcoms, but nothing of the sort when it comes to Indian television. They aren't very well represented in Bollywood either. Take, for example, Priyanka Chopra's movie Mary Kom. Now, the movie is based on the life of the Olympic Indian boxer Mary Kom, who was from the state of Manipur. Now, instead of casting a Northeast Indian person, producers casted a not at all Northeast Indian looking Priyanka Chopra. And this is usually the big problem when it comes to representation of Northeast Indians in mainstream media, in that they aren't even represented at all. And the final thing I want to share is this. So just remember that the northeastern region of India is a very sensitive one, almost like Kashmir. Now, they have feuds with China over the borders of Arunachal Pradesh, and the Seven Sister States have been plagued by a lot of violence. Now, the feud with India, as well as the rise of separatist groups in the northeast, as well as the retaliation by the Indian army, mistrust, loss of faith, all of that, those have been prevailing in these regions for decades. And the more that the mainstream Indians don't do to fix the racist attitudes against Northeast Indians in their heart, the more that the Northeast Indian people will feel alienated from the rest of India. Now, it's because of this that Northeasterners really feel alienated, and it's because of this that, like, yes, a lot of Northeast Indians really feel completely alienated and just completely separate. And China actually sometimes tries to use this in their favor to create chaos in northeastern regions. Alright guys, so that's all I have for you in this episode. I know I covered a lot and it's definitely a sensitive topic. I tried to come from a bunch of different angles just to shed some light on the northeastern Indians. But anyways, let me hear your thoughts and comments down below. What are your thoughts about this?
ओके, अब ये कोई खुद इंडियन नहीं है यूट्यूबर, तो इन्होंने कितने फैक्ट्स एक्यूरेट बताए हैं ये आप इंडियन होके ही मुझे बता सकते हैं। बट वो जो क्वेश्चन मैंने रेस किया था उन्होंने मुझे इसका बेहतरीन आंसर दिया है। बट मेरी इंटेंट उस वक्त भी ये नहीं थी कि मैं डाउट कर रहा हूँ उनकी नेशनैलिटी को, ऐसा नहीं है, वो इंडियंस ही होंगे। बट मैंने कभी नॉर्थ ईस्ट इंडियंस को देखा ही नहीं था, पता ही नहीं था मुझे उनके बारे में। ये फैक्ट भी नहीं पता था कि नॉर्थ ईस्ट इंडियंस जो मेनलैंड इंडियंस हैं काफ़ी डिफरेंट नज़र आते हैं। जो उसका रीज़न है वो ये है कि उनकी जो बाउंड्रीज़ हैं वो नेपाल, भूटान और चाइना से टच होती हैं। तो इसी वजह से जैसा लैंड होता है वैसे ही वहाँ पे लोग होते हैं। अगर मैं पाकिस्तान की बात करूँ, पाकिस्तान में इस तरह के सिमिलर दिखने वाले तो लोग नहीं हैं। बट पाकिस्तान में जो पश्तून्स हैं, जो पठान हैं, जो हमारे नॉर्दर्न एरियाज़ में हैं, नॉर्थ पाकिस्तान में, तो उनमें से कुछ तो ऐसे हैं कि आप उनको सूट पहना दो तो वो अंग्रेज़ लगने लग जाएं वो पाकिस्तानी लगे भी ना। तो इस तरह होता है। उसके लिए मैं अपोलोजाइज़ करता हूँ, मुझे आप लोगों ने करेक्शन करवाई। मुझे इंडियंस को इंडियंस ही कहना चाहिए था और अच्छा भी लगा था मुझे देख के कि हालांकि पॉपुलेशन वाइज नॉर्थ ईस्ट इंडिया के काफ़ी कम लोग हैं। इवन जो ये स्टैट्स में बता रहे थे वो तो ये कि अभी तक बहुत सारे इंडियंस भी रिकॉग्नाइज नहीं कर पाते कि ये इंडिया से हैं या कहीं फॉरेनर हैं। तो इस तरह होता है। इवन जो मैंने एक वीडियो रिएक्ट किया था जिसमें इंडिपेंडेंस डे के अकॉर्डिंग एड्स थे, अवार्ड विनिंग एड्स, उसमें एक नॉर्थ ईस्ट इंडियन को मजाक उड़ा रहे होते हैं कुछ मेनलैंड इंडियंस और चाइनीज़ करके बुला रहे होते हैं। बट थोड़ी देर में वही शख्स वापस आता है तो इंडियन आर्मी का यूनिफॉर्म पहन के आता है। तो ऐसा होता है, सॉरी फॉर दैट। बट इस वीडियो से मुझे क्लियर हुआ कि एक्चुअली में नॉर्थ ईस्ट इंडिया क्या है, कहाँ एग्जिस्ट करता है, उनके कल्चर्स कितने डिफरेंट हैं, उनके फेस फीचर्स क्यों डिफरेंट हैं, ये चीज़ें। और आइंदा मैं ऐसी मिस्टेक दोबारा कभी नहीं दोहराऊंगा। मिलते हैं किसी नए वीडियो के साथ, तब तक के लिए अल्लाह निगहबान।